I will never forget the exact moment that woman's face froze. That smug, self-satisfied smirk she'd been wearing all morning just evaporated the second she realized she had just dialed 911 on a corporate litigation attorney. It was genuinely priceless, the way that confidence melted away like a cheap ice cube sliding down hot asphalt in the Texas sun. But I'm getting way ahead of myself, aren't I? To truly appreciate how this whole ridiculous power trip unraveled, how one middle-aged woman's obsession with control triggered the total, irreversible dissolution of her entire homeowners association, you need the whole picture. The scene set. It all started the day we moved my daughter, Chloe, into her first house, a lovely little 2-story townhouse in a planned community called The Groves at Willow Creek, about a 4-hour drive from where I live. I'm Ben Carter, by the way, and for 25 years, I've specialized in cutting through red tape and exposing corporate corruption. Mostly the boring kind, regulatory compliance and governance issues. I handle the big fish, the Fortune 500 stuff. Never in a million years did I think my greatest battle would be waged against a woman in a hot pink velour tracksuit over a moving truck. The Penske rental truck hadn't even fully rolled to a stop outside Chloe's unit, number 14B, when I spotted her. Vivian Vance, as she was later introduced to us, was already standing stiffly on her perfectly manicured lawn across the street, arms crossed so tight over her chest you could practically hear her bones creak, lips pursed like she'd been sucking on a warhead candy. I was genuinely excited, just radiating proud dad energy, We hadn't even opened the rear door of the truck when Trouble strode across the street in designer slide sandals and that blinding pink outfit. "Excuse me," she barked, a voice so sharp and nasally it could have been used to strip barnacles off a ship hull. "You cannot park that commercial vehicle here without the proper filing and permits from the executive board. That is a clear violation of Section 4.3A. Chloe, bless her heart, was still beaming from the sheer joy of getting the keys to her first place. She stepped forward, extending a friendly hand. "Oh, hi, I'm Chloe Carter. I just closed on 14B yesterday. We're just unloading. We'll be gone in a few hours." Vivian didn't even acknowledge the offered handshake. She just looked down her nose. "I don't care who you are, dear. That truck violates community standards. Commercial vehicles require an authorization of use form filed a minimum of 72 business hours in advance. That's the rule, and I enforce the rules." I carefully set the box I was carrying down. It was just kitchen stuff, pots and pans, and tried to keep my tone neutral, professional. "Look, ma'am, we're simply unloading furniture and boxes. This isn't a commercial delivery. This is my vehicle, helping my daughter move into a house she now owns. We will be out of here before dinner." That's when she whipped out her phone, holding it up like a deputy reaching for a badge. Click. "Illegal activity in progress," she narrated loudly, almost theatrically, snapping photos of the truck from every angle. "Unapproved commercial-grade vehicle. Possible damage to common area pavement." Each flash seemed to dim the bright new home excitement in Chloe's eyes just a little more. "Ma'am, I live here now," Chloe tried again, her smile beginning to falter. "That's my dad. He drove all this way just to help me move in." Vivian's eyes narrowed into slits of judgment. "I am the president of the Groves at Willow Creek HOA. I know every resident, and you are not on my list." She flipped open a ridiculous little leather-bound notepad, which looked more like a prop than a ledger. "Let's see. No, Chloe Carter. No Unit 14B closing on my schedule. That means you are currently trespassing." I recognized the type instantly. 25 years in the courtroom dealing with corporate power struggles teaches you how to spot a petty tyrant. People who mistake a tiny sliver of delegated authority for absolute. "Divine power. My daughter closed yesterday," I said evenly. "The paperwork may not have reached your desk yet, if you can call it that." Vivian's face flushed a blotchy, uneven red. "Are you calling me incompetent?" she hissed, drawing out the word. "I have run this association for 7 years without a single complaint from a member of good standing. 7 years of perfect governance." That, as I later found out, was her first major lie, though I didn't know it then. "Nobody's calling you anything," I replied calmly, picking up another box. "We are just trying to get her settled. It's hot, and we're on a schedule. Vivian took 2 steps and planted herself directly in my path, a sentinel at a checkpoint. Put that box down immediately. I have not inspected it for prohibited items. Chloe stared, genuinely baffled. Prohibited items? Dad, it's literally my Instant Pot and my silverware. Vivian jabbed a perfectly manicured finger toward us. Certain appliances require board approval. Microwaves exceeding 1,200 watts, blenders over 85 decibels, certain types of window air conditioning units. It's all in the governing covenants, section 6.2c. She was clearly, patently making it up as she went along, but at that point all I wanted was to stop the drama and get my daughter moved in. Look, I said, stepping carefully around her, giving her a wide berth. We are not trying to start a confrontation. Let us unload today, and Chloe can handle whatever trivial paperwork you require tomorrow. That's when she went for the nuclear option, what she genuinely thought was her final, perfect power play. She pulled out her phone again and loudly dialed 911. Hello, police? This is Vivian Vance, president of the Groves at Willow Creek HOA, she announced, loud enough for half the street to hear, as I watched the curtains in the nearby units twitch. I need to report suspicious individuals unloading unknown, unauthorized items into one of our units. Yes, I believe they are trespassing. The man is clearly out of state with an aggressive, highly threatening demeanor. I almost choked laughing. Threatening demeanor? I was wearing khakis, a navy polo shirt, and New Balance sneakers. If anything, I looked like an especially uncool high school history teacher. Chloe, however, looked genuinely rattled. Dad, should we just stop? I don't want trouble on my first day. I squeezed her shoulder, a gentle, firm pressure. Don't worry, sweetheart. We are not doing anything wrong. Let her make her call. Vivian stood next to the truck like a self-appointed security guard, smirking, clearly believing she had already won. The police take HOA violations very seriously in this town, she bragged, her voice dripping with condescension. I play pickleball with the lieutenant of patrol every Tuesday. You know. Another lie, I suspected. About 10 agonizing minutes later, 2 patrol cars arrived, lights softly flashing in the mid-afternoon sun. Vivian practically sprinted toward them, waving her arms dramatically like she was directing a 3-alarm fire, obviously spinning some exaggerated villainous tale about me. Sir, we received a report of trespassing and suspicious activity, the lead officer said, approaching us with a carefully neutral expression. His badge read Sergeant Miles. I gave him a polite professional nod. Officer, I am just helping my daughter move into her new home. She closed on Unit 14B yesterday. I'm Ben Carter, this is Chloe. I handed him my license, out-of-state plates and all. The younger officer, Officer Esposito, studied my ID, and a hint of recognition flickered in his eyes. Carter, Ben Carter, wait a minute. Aren't you the attorney who filed the class action suit that dissolved that massive property management firm downstate last year? The one with all the illegal zoning kickbacks? I gave a small, confident smile. That would be me. I specialize in corporate governance, regulatory compliance, and yes, unfortunately exposing bad actors in property law. Sergeant Miles's eyebrows shot up in genuine surprise. No kidding. My cousin lives in one of those communities. You basically saved them from financial ruin. He handed my license back with a firm nod, then turned toward Vivian, who was still hovering with a triumphant glare. Ma'am, these people are not trespassing. The daughter owns the unit. They are moving in. Vivian's face cycled through several shades of red and purple. But they didn't file the proper permits. That truck is illegal. They're violating numerous covenants, Sergeant. Officer Esposito opened his notepad and held his pen poised over the page. And which specific state laws are they breaking, ma'am? Not HOA rules, laws, Vivian sputtered, clearly not used to being challenged by actual authority. HOA rules are legally binding. They need board approval for moving vehicles, for furniture, for everything. Sergeant Miles let out a deep, tired sigh that conveyed years of dealing with neighborhood nonsense. Ma'am, HOA rules do not override fundamental property rights. They own the unit. They can move in, unless they are actively violating a criminal statute, not just a covenant. There is absolutely nothing we can do, and nothing you should be calling 911 about. That was the moment I made my decision. The decision to stop being the helpful dad and start being the lawyer. "Officers," I said calmly, "since you are already here, I would like to file a complaint. This woman is harassing us, actively obstructing me from accessing my daughter's private property, and has misused emergency services." Vivian's jaw dropped open, truly horrified. You can't file a complaint against me. I'm the president." Officer Esposito's pen hovered over the page. "Actually, he can. Are you currently preventing them from entering their own property, ma'am?" Vivian instantly backpedaled, suddenly shrinking under the official scrutiny. "I'm just ensuring compliance with community standards." Miles cut her off. "Ma'am, let them move in. If there are any covenant violations, deal with them through proper written HOA channels. But do not ever call 911 for something like this again." As the patrol cars pulled away, I caught something in Vivian's eyes. Not defeat, not quite fear, but a cold, hardened defiance. A simple warning would have told her to back down and let it go. Instead, she straightened up, adjusted her pink tracksuit, and doubled down. "This isn't over," she hissed across the driveway. "I'll be reviewing every single item you bring into this community. One violation and you're out of compliance. You'll be fined until you leave." I calmly set down the box in my hands, which contained an Instant Pot, and reached for my phone, already pulling up the state's Property Records Act. "Actually, Vivian," I said, giving her the kind of slow, precise smile I usually save for the courtroom floor, "I think I'll be reviewing a few things too. Starting with your association's governing documents, its financial records, and its election procedures." Her confidence wavered, just slightly. "Those are private HOA documents. They are confidential." "Not in this state, they're not," I replied, my voice cool and even. "HOA records are subject to member review. And my daughter," I gestured toward a wide-eyed Chloe, who was just processing the whole thing, "is now a member in good standing." Chloe watched, fascinated. She'd heard stories of my legal battles, but she'd never seen me turn that corporate intensity on a human being in a pink tracksuit. Over the next 3 days, as Chloe unpacked boxes, I got to work. The first red flag popped up immediately. The HOA website hadn't been updated in 4 years. The second, zero evidence of published audited financial statements. The third, and this was the juicy one, no one seemed to know when the last real board election had actually taken place. I spent that week knocking on doors, introducing myself as Chloe's father, the new attorney in the neighborhood, and what I heard from the neighbors poured out like water from a cracked dam. It was a reign of terror, disguised as governance. Absurd, illegal fines for everything. $300 penalties for a lawn half an inch too long, $150 citations for unauthorized flower colors, emergency assessments that disappeared into a black hole of administrative costs. Every single person told me the same chilling thing. Vivian had been president for 7 years, and in the last 5, she'd simply canceled or postponed the elections due to lack of interest. Old Mrs. Delaney in Unit 18 showed me a $650 fine because her adult son had parked his motorcycle, which was deemed a distracting vehicle, modification, in her driveway. Mr. Chen in Unit 9 was charged $400 for flying a flag that wasn't an approved patriotic display material, and poor Mike Johnson in Unit 22 had forked over nearly $1,200 in phantom infrastructure assessments that never resulted in a single visible improvement to the community, pool or common areas. But the real game changer came from Richard Rich Sterling, a retired forensic accountant who lived in Unit 3. I tried to review the books 2 years ago. "Ben," he told me over a cup of terrible coffee. "Vivian said they were being audited. Then she said they were with the management company. Then she just stopped returning my calls entirely." He slid a worn manila folder across his kitchen table. "I've been keeping my own log. The numbers, Ben, they just don't add up." Not even close. I spent hours going through his meticulous records, missing funds, suspicious round-number transfers to an unknown vendor account, and worst of all, absolutely no legitimate board election records since 2018. Vivian had simply installed herself as president after the previous board resigned out of exhaustion, and she'd ruled unchecked, a queen in her tiny pink kingdom, ever since. By the end of the week, I had enough evidence to topple a small, incompetent dictatorship, but I waited for the perfect opening, the perfect legal escalation. It arrived the following Monday. Chloe got her first official violation notice. Unauthorized window treatments. Shade of white does not conform to approved SW 7006 standards. It was petty. It was absurd, and it was a direct personal challenge. That was it. I called for an emergency HOA meeting. The community center was packed to capacity. Word had spread like wildfire. Someone, an actual lawyer, was finally challenging Vivian. She sat alone at the board table, her usual two cronies mysteriously absent, clutching her cheap wooden gavel. I moved to immediately audit the financial records of the Groves at Willow Creek HOA for the past 7 years, I began, placing a thick stack of documents on the table with a satisfying, theatrical thud. Vivian banged her little gavel aggressively. "You're out of order!" "Only board members can make motions," I smiled. "Actually, according to your own bylaws, which I have right here, page 47, section 3.b, any member in good standing can propose motions at open meetings." I watched her fumble through her copy, clearly unfamiliar with the rules she claimed to enforce. Furthermore, I continued, not losing a beat, I move for immediate board elections. Effective tonight, since there haven't been any since 2018. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, loud whispers turning into gasps. "That's impossible," Vivian shrieked, her voice cracking. "I've been duly elected every year." "By whom?" I asked calmly, holding up a new stack of papers, the official state filings. "Where are the certified ballots? The vote tallies? The election notices? I've obtained records from the Secretary of State's office. 0 HOA election filings for the Groves at Willow Creek since 2018. The room buzzed with incredulous outrage. Someone from the back shouted, "She told us elections were suspended because nobody cared enough to run." I didn't stop there. I also moved to review every single fine and assessment levied in the last 5 years. State law requires public hearings, written notices, and a clear appeal process for every single one. "Vivian, where are those records? They must be publicly accessible to all members." Her face, once flushed with false power, was now sickly pale. "Those are confidential HOA matters. Attorney-client privilege." "Wrong again," I said, holding up a copy of the state statute. "Financial records must be made available for member inspection. Failure to do so isn't just an HOA issue. It's a violation of State Criminal Code 45.1 regarding transparency and fiduciary duty." Rich Sterling, the retired accountant, stood up tall. "I second the motion." Mrs. Delaney rose next, clutching her $650 fine notice. "I third it, and I want my money back." Then half the room was on its feet, a unified wave of long-suppressed anger. And that's when I delivered the final, inescapable blow, given the serious systemic and potentially criminal irregularities uncovered in the past several years. I moved for the immediate dissolution of the Groves at Willow Creek Homeowners Association. The room absolutely erupted. Some cheered wildly, some gasped in shock, but not a single person, not one, rose to Vivian's defense. She slammed the little gavel again and again, trembling with pure, unadulterated fury. "You can't dissolve the HOA. I won't allow it. You don't have that power." "You're right, I don't have that power," I replied, utterly calm. "But according to your own charter, Article 8, dissolution requires a 2/3 vote of all members. Shall we vote, neighbors?" The tally was brutal, devastatingly clear. Out of 105 units represented, 98 voted to dissolve. 5 abstained. Only 2 opposed, Vivian and her friend from Unit 25 who, as I later learned, was $4,000 behind on her fees and being illegally protected by the president. As the results were read aloud, Vivian Vance's little pink kingdom of control collapsed right there in front of her. She rose from her chair, shaking, tears of rage welling in her eyes. "This is illegal. I'll sue every single one of you. You need me. Without the HOA, this place will fall apart." But no one was listening anymore. The neighbors were too busy hugging and celebrating their freedom, their small, reclaimed piece of the American dream. The legal dissolution process took nearly 6 weeks, and in that time, even more corruption surfaced. The district attorney opened an official investigation into the missing funds. Vivian was forced by court order to personally repay over $41,000 in illegal fines and unauthorized administrative expenses. Her local real estate license was suspended indefinitely. She actually lost her job at the property management company she worked for when the full scandal went public. The last time I saw her was at the final dissolution hearing. The judge confirmed the vote, signed the order, and officially ended the existence of the Groves at Willow Creek HOA. As the gavel fell for the final time, Vivian let out a sound that was somewhere between a sob and a strangled scream. 7 years, she cried out. I gave 7 years of my life to this community. The judge, a no-nonsense woman with a silver braid, didn't even look up as she gathered her papers. Her reply was simple, cold, and final. Ma'am, you gave yourself 7 years of unauthorized, illegally obtained power. Case closed. Chloe, thankfully, is doing great. Her curtains are still the wrong shade of white, and her lawn is exactly as long as she wants it to be. The community has established a simple, voluntary neighborhood watch. No fees, no fines, just neighbors looking out for each other. It was satisfying. But it also makes you wonder, why do people cling to these little bits of power so tightly? Is it control? Is it loneliness? Or is it just the deeply ingrained human need to tell someone else what to do? I want to hear from you. Have you ever dealt with a situation like this? A Vivian, a petty tyrant who confused rules with righteousness? Or do you think HOAs are necessary to maintain community standards and property values? Tell me your side of the story. Comment below and let's keep the discussion going. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to hear more stories of law, justice, and everyday absurdity.